All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the ISSS OPT webinar for spring 2025. My name is Jeremy Spoor. I'm the Associate Director of ISSS, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Jean Ma. She's one of our advisors here at ISSS. So we're going to take you through the webinar, and feel free to ask questions in the Q&A section. It's not chat, it's the Q&A. This is set up as a webinar. And as we're going through the presentation, please try to just listen and absorb the information. We've noticed in the past that students just keep asking random questions, but we can tell that you're not listening because you're asking questions that we just answered in the webinar. So we think this is pretty comprehensive. It should answer most of your questions. So again, feel free to ask, but try to follow the webinar and you will get the information that you need about the timelines and things like that. So with that, welcome and let's get started. Jean's going to start us off.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. Good morning, everyone. Let's start the presentation. There we go. All right. So OPT, or known for optional practical training, it's a temporary employment authorization that allows employment that's directly related to an F1 student's major field of study. So eligible students can apply to receive up to 12 months of OPT employment authorization per degree level before completing their academic degree, that's pre-completion OPT, or after completing their academic studies, which is post-completion OPT. So for students who are graduating this May, you will be applying for the post-completion OPT. Note that OPT is authorized by USCIS, not ISSS. ISSS will help recommend OPT in your CVIS record and give you an OPT at 20, which you will include as part of your application to USCIS. Okay, so OPT is a benefit of F1 student status. So if you're a J1 student, this presentation is not for you. To be eligible for OPT, F1 students must be enrolled full-time for at least one academic year and has not been authorized OPT at the current degree level in the past, and has not been authorized for 12 months or more of full-time CPT at the current degree level. A job offer is not required at the time of application, but the employment during OPT must be directly related to your major. Okay, so OPT employment may be paid or unpaid. You want to make sure that unpaid work does not violate any labor laws that are determined by the U.S. Department of Labor. Students can engage in multiple positions during OPT. Just have to make sure that the combined hours during OPT is at least 20 hours per week. You may be able to change employers while you're on OPT. You just have to make sure that you let us know by completing OPT reporting to let us know your new employer and also the end of your current employer. Here we go. So we briefly mentioned that employment must be directly related to your major field of study. So one of the questions that we often get is, how do I know or determine or confirm if my job is related to my major? One of the things that we tell students is that you want to look at the job posting and see what is required for that position, what degrees and what areas of study that position requires. Does that match your degree that you're getting from Penn? Another way is to reach out to your academic department, your professors, or even career services to see if they have any recommendations for students who graduated from your program and see what employment that they applied when they were applying for OPT. So this is a quick glance of the OPT application process. We will go through each one of them in the next several slides. Okay, so the earliest that you can submit an OPT application to USCIS was February 18th. So it was happened last week. But it doesn't mean that you can no longer submit. You can still submit your OPT application to USCIS. It just that last week was the earliest that you can start doing this process. So the window for applying for OPT is all the way through 60 days of your 60 grace period after the completion of your degree, which is July 18, 2025. So, which means that that's also the very last day that your post-completion OPT must start. Okay. All right, so the first step is to request OPT I-20 from ISSS. On our website, we have provided detailed guidance on how to start this process. So you will basically log into IPEN, and you will find the e-form called OPT I-20 request. You will fill out a form and let us know when do you want your OPT to start. And then the form will go to your academic department, your advisor, to prove first, because they have to let us know that, yes, you're indeed graduating this May. Once the form is reviewed and approved by your academic department, they will come to ISSS for final approval. So at that time, we will process the OPT I-20 and send you the OPT I-20 for you to include in your application to USCIS. There will be a internal processing fee when you apply for the OPT I-20, and there's also going to be an OPT tutorial which you have to pass in order to proceed. So DSO recommendation. So once the e-form reaches ISSS, after being reviewed by your academic department, it will take generally 3 to 5 business days for us to give you the OPT I-20. And during peak time, it's going to coming up pretty soon in the spring. We do ask that you wait for 5 to 7 business days for the OPT I-20 to be emailed to you. And again, when you receive the new I-20 from us, you want to make sure that you print it out, sign your name on page 1 of your I-20, and then upload it to USCIS when you apply to USCIS. Okay, so apply to USCIS. On our website listed here, we have instructions on how to complete the online application with USCIS. Please remember that the OPT I-20 that we email you must be included in your online application. Another important reminder is that when you receive your OPT I-20, for example, you received it today, you have 30 days from today to submit your OPT application to USCIS. If you submit it just 31 days, one extra day, USCIS will reject your application and you will have to apply again. So make sure that you do it within 30 days. And if for whatever reason you're not able to do it within 30 days, let your ISSS advisor know, because we can cancel your current OPT recommendation and we can re-recommend to give you a new I-20. So do let us know if you're not able to, or we're not able to submit within 30 days and there's a way to fix it. So don't just go ahead and submit it, and because you know that that will be rejected.
And one thing I'd like to throw out about that is USCIS might not reject it now when you apply. They might reject it in June.
Right.
And then you're going to be behind by 3 months in your application. So make sure that you're filing that OPT application within the 30-day window.
Right. And then also they could possibly reject it after the grace period has ended, then which means that you will not be able to refile. So yeah, make sure you let us know as soon as you pass that 30-day and just say, I forgot or I didn't get to apply. Can you please re-recommend my OPT? And we will be able to do that for you. Okay. Wait, let me go back to this really quickly. Another thing is that you want to make sure that you're physically in the US when you submit your OPT application. I know that some of the students are traveling for spring break coming up pretty soon. You want to make sure that you either file it before you leave or wait till after you come back from your trip to file. You cannot submit your online application while you're outside the US. That will be rejected for sure. So make sure that you plan really well. If you don't think you have time to apply before, then wait till after you come back from your spring break trip to file for your OPT. Okay. So online filing, since a few years ago, online filing is the way to go. It is fast, it's secure, and convenient compared to paper filing, and you're able to also pay for the application fee online using a credit card or debit card. You also wouldn't be able to complete the online application if all the required fields are not filled. So make sure that you go with the online application. You're able to pay for it while using a credit card. And also you will be able to print out a receipt notice right after you submit your OPT application online. And also in the event that you receive a request for evidence, RFE, you'll actually be able to see the reason for the RFE on your in your USS account. You print out the RFE document, so you'll be able to respond faster, and also you can respond directly to the RFE online. So that will save a lot of time. Okay. The current US's processing time for OPT is about 4 months, 3 to 4 months. It's not guaranteed processing time and can fluctuate, so please plan ahead. If you have a job offer that starts right after graduation, or if you need your OPT to be processed ASAP, so that you can receive the EAD sooner, you have the option to use premium processing, which will cost you an additional $1,685. Premium processing guarantees adjudication in 30 business days instead of 3 or 4 months. You can initially file your application without premium processing, and later, if needed, you can always request to upgrade your application to premium processing. You want to make sure that you do not start employment or any type of training. Sometimes that includes orientation before a job starts while OPT is pending. You have to wait until OPT is approved and EAD is received. Okay, so now you waited several months, your OPT is approved, and your EAD is received. The first thing that you want to do is to check the information printed on the EAD is correct, such as the spelling of your name, your date of birth, and most importantly, the OPT dates that you originally requested. If you see an error, do not wait, reach out to your ISS advisor, and we can provide further guidance, instructions on the next steps. If it needs to be corrected, then we'll have to let you know how to reach out to USCIS to get that corrected. Okay. Next. Okay, so one of the most frequently questions that we get is, when can I start work? Again, I briefly mentioned earlier, when your OPT is approved, EAD received, that is when you can start working. So if your OPT is approved, but EAD is still on its way to you, you will have to wait until you physically have the EAD card in your hand to start working. You will have to let your employer, because your employer will likely request a copy of your EAD in order to make sure that you have the proper authorization to start working. And then also the EAD start date has to be reached. So for example, if you received your EAD on July 1st, but your requested start date is July 15th, for example, you still can't work, even though you have the EAD in your hand. You have to wait till July 15th to start officially working. Okay. All right. I think Jeremy will take the rest.
Yeah. Thank you, Jean.
Yep.
And I will say I've answered 4 questions in the chat while Jean was talking. They were good questions. So yeah, continue to ask and we will answer. We'll have time at the end for some Q&A too. So let me keep going here. So once you get your OPT card and your job, hopefully this will happen probably May, June, July, maybe August. You must do the OPT reporting e-form, and you're going to do that in IPEN. You're still going to be connected with us the whole time that you're on OPT. So you're still going to be talking to ISSS. You're still going to have an assigned advisor. You're going to be using e-forms to communicate with us and update information. So you want to, as soon as you get the card, as soon as you get your job offer or both, you're going to do the OPT reporting e-form, upload a scan of your card, update your address because you might move after you graduate, and just continue to do any job change, address change reporting to ISSS for over the next, 1, 2, or 3 years while you're on OPT. You just continue to use the OPT reporting. Okay, next slide. Now, unemployment time. You have unemployment time while you're on OPT. For your first year, you have 90 days of unemployment. And then if you move on to STEM, you get an extra 60 days. So that's cumulative over the 3 years. And that's why you really need to do the OPT reporting, because that stops the clock on the unemployment. All right. And hopefully your card starts on July 15th and your job starts on July 15th, and then you have 0 unemployment days. So that's part of the importance of the reporting, because the SEVIS system calculates your unemployment as you go through. And if you exceed that 90-day limit, that will end your F1 status and you have to exit the US. That's very rare that happens to Penn students, but it does happen to some. They graduate in May, their OPT starts in July, and then they get to October and they still don't have a job yet, and they've exceeded their 90 days, and ISSS is going to advise you, well, you need to exit the US. You did not start work on OPT. You did not report, so you need to exit. Next slide. All right, travel on OPT. So listen carefully here. We're going to talk about kind of 2 different things. We're going to talk about break, and then we're going to talk about after May 19th. So certain cases, you do not want to travel. So next slide, Gene. So this is talking about now, okay? February, March, April, early May. So you have to be in the US when you file it. So that means either now or after break. And anytime between now and May 19th, you haven't graduated yet. So you're still considered to be in class. So you still travel like normal. Okay. You need your OPT, or I'm sorry, you need your I-20 and your visa, and you should be able to come in and out of the US. Not a problem. But the big thing is that after May 19th, for a lot of you, we will recommend that you not travel. So you might need to plan to stay in the US from, say, May 19th until your OPT card begins, or until you get your OPT card in July or June. So I want to help you think about that, because a lot of people make plans for a big trip after graduation, but that may not be a good thing for you. You may need to think about staying in the US and maybe taking a trip within the US, go to the Grand Canyon or go to Disney World, but you're not going to be exiting the US after May 19th. And I'll explain why in the next slide. Okay, so here's the possible risks of travel. So if you're out of the US, and this is, again, this is after May 19th. So, and your OPT is not approved yet. Okay, you're still waiting for that card. So if you go out and you don't have a valid F1 visa, you need to have your OPT card and your job offer to apply for a new F1 visa. So we would recommend, if your visa is expired, you're not traveling after May 19th. Suppose your your OPT card gets lost in the mail and you're outside the US. You really have no way to figure it out or apply again. Suppose your OPT gets denied while you're abroad. And then it's like, well, okay, then you're out. You can't reapply because you're not here. Or if there was an RFE, a request for evidence, and you're out of the US and you're not able to reply because they might ask for your newest I-94 card. Well, you don't have a new I-94 card because you're out of the US. So these are the scenarios that we're going to say you really want to think about traveling after May 19th. Now, spring break in March, not really a problem. But after May 19th, you really want to think about staying put in the US. Okay, next slide. Also, if your OPT is approved and you still want to travel, or you may need to travel for work, so discuss your travel plans with your employer. You don't want to have a new job that starts on July 15th and then you go on a trip in June and you get stuck outside the US. Your employer's not going to be happy with you at all if you can't start and you're stuck outside the US. So discuss the travel plan. And if you're going to travel, this checklist of things there: valid passport, valid F1 visa, OPT I-20 endorsed for travel within the past 6 months, your EAD card, and your job offer letter. Now, if you're an undergrad or a grad student, for the years that you've been at Penn, ISSS has been telling you your travel signature is valid for 1 year, 1 calendar year. But of course, immigration likes to switch things up. And then when you're on OPT, that travel signature is only valid for 6 months. And that applies to the STEM period as well. So you're going to need to work with ISSS using IPEN to get a new travel signature every 6 months while you're on OPT. So this slide is an important slide for travel after May 19th. Okay, next slide. So let's talk a little bit about STEM. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Okay, a lot of majors at Penn are STEM degrees across our 12 schools at Penn. Not all of them are, but a lot of them are. We're not going to talk in depth about STEM now, except to say that we have a list. You can find the list on the ISSS website and also within your respective schools. It's pretty well known that, this major is a STEM major versus it's not a STEM major. So, okay, next slide. So here's a couple of fast facts about STEM. So you got to have a STEM major, you've got to have a STEM job, and you're going to need help from your employer to apply for STEM. And for most of you, this is probably going to be a year from now because you're going to do 1 year of regular OPT first after you graduate, and then you're going to apply for STEM in the spring of 2026. It's a very similar application. You're going to do the e-form and IPEN, and we're going to generate you a new I-20, and it's going to have 2 years of STEM time on it. And then you're going to apply for a new EAD card with USCIS, with immigration. But you're going to need a form called a I-983 from your employer. They're going to have to fill that out, sign off on it. Your HR or your manager is going to have to sign that form on your behalf to support the STEM job. And the earliest you can apply is 90 days before the end of your OPT card. But don't forget, this might be June of 2026 and you've got to apply for STEM. So don't ignore it. Know the timelines. And when you're on STEM, you have to do more reporting. You have to do 6-month evaluations, a 12-month evaluation, 24-month evaluation, and final evaluation. And you're going to do all those through IPEN. There's e-forms, and you have to keep up with them every 6 months. You have to update your employment and address information over the 2 years of STEM. Okay, next slide. All right, so here's some FAQs. So think about this. If your OPT I-20 is more than 30 days old, can you use it to apply for OPT? Hopefully you're all thinking, no, you cannot do that. You want to get in touch with your ISSS advisor and have us issue you a new one. You must apply. I would recommend as soon as you get that I-20 back, apply like that day or the next day so you don't have this problem. Do you need your EAD before beginning work? Yes, absolutely. You've got to have that EAD card in your hand to show to your employer before you can begin to work. And that would include any training or onboarding processes. You've got to have that card to show your employer. Can you change your OPT request dates? And the answer is it depends. You can, if you want to change those dates before you send it to USCIS. So if you just get it back from your ISSS advisor and you say, oh, geez, I want to change my dates by a week, then don't apply to immigration. Contact your ISSS advisor and say, hey, can I shift my dates? And we can shift the dates. But once you send it in, once you apply to USCIS, you're committed to those dates. You cannot change it. So make sure when you send it in, you're committed. Can you cancel your OPT if you haven't used it? You can inform us. Say you get to next July or August, and you end up getting a better job offer in your country, and you decide to leave the U.S. Then absolutely, please let us know through IPEN with the OPT reporting e-form. There's an option that says, you know, I have returned, I'm not using my OPT, I have returned to the US. Or I'm sorry, I've returned to my country. I've returned home. And we can cancel it again prior to you applying to USCIS. But once you apply to immigration, you're committed. We can't take it back at that point. All right. 12 months of OPT. This answer is it depends. You can have OPT at each educational level. So that means bachelor's, master's, PhD, doctoral level. So if you did OPT after undergrad and then you came to Penn and you got a master's, then you can do another 12 months of OPT. Or you got a master's years ago from Drexel, and now you're back at Penn for a PhD, then you can do OPT again. But if it's at the same level, like master's to master's, you cannot do OPT again. It's only one time at each educational level. And I hope you all know this. What is your immigration status when you're on OPT? I hope you know. That means that you are in F1 status. You are still in student status and you're still talking to ISSS. Your F1 status is still connected to Penn. You are no longer a student for academic purposes, but you are certainly an F1 student for your immigration purposes while you are on OPT. Whenever you enter the US during your OPT period, you always want to be entering as F1. And this especially goes for our Canadian students who don't need a visa to enter the US, but you always want to make sure when you're on OPT, you are entering as F. Or anybody else who might have a tourist visa from any other country. You don't want to enter as a tourist. You don't want to enter on ESTA. You always want to be F1 because that maintains your status, maintains your ability to work on OPT. All right, final thoughts. Please use the information on our website. Be organized. Have copies, at least PDFs, of all your immigration documents. Continue to keep in touch with ISSS and read our emails and use IPEN. That's the primary way that you're going to do these transactions with us. OPT reporting, STEM extension. You're going to do it all through IPEN. We have a online process for all of it. So when you get to next year, there's no point in emailing me or Gene and saying, hey, I'd like to do STEM. Great. My answer to you is do the eForm and IPEN. If you have specific questions, of course, we're happy to answer. But the general information is on the website and the process is done through eForms. All right, let's see what else. All right, so this is our general contact slide. Hopefully you are following us on Instagram and keeping up with the newsletter. We put out a lot of information in there that's useful to students. So hopefully you are subscribed to our newsletter. All right, I think now we can switch back to the Q&A and Jean and I will start to answer some of these.
So I already responded to a few. I think for the rest, we're just going to read and answer live. Is that all right, Jeremy? Okay.
Yeah, we can go back and forth.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to start with the first one or you want me to?
Yeah, I can do the first one.
Okay.
Is there ever a scenario where a J1 is preferable to apply to. I was hoping to apply for J1 after I graduate while on F status. That one, yeah, that's a really specific thing that I don't think that's a good one for this webinar. I'm not sure why you would want to apply for J1 at that time, to be a student again or to be a J1 scholar, but generally my answer would be no, just apply for OPT. So that's what I'll say to that one. And of course, if you want to talk to your ISSS advisor, you should do so. You know, make an appointment with one of us and we can discuss the J1.
All right. Can I leave the US after graduation before I receive my EAD? If my OPT start date is July 18th, and I only need to be back in the US much later than graduation. Yeah, you can certainly travel after graduation. After you have the OPT approved, you have the EAD card in your hand, and you can return later in July to start work. Yeah, you don't have to be in the US during that time or to wait before you start work. You can definitely travel. Just make sure that you have all the required travel documents that we mentioned earlier in the presentation.
Okay, and I'll take the one here about if you're not sure if you'll be working in the US, would you recommend until pre-clarity? I'm not sure what you mean. Pre-clarity and paying for premium versus applying now and OPT forfeiture. I think if you're going to apply for OPT at all, just apply for regular OPT, because if you apply for premium now, you're going to spend all that money up front to get your OPT approved, and then you might not end up working here anyway. So if I understand right, I would say don't do premium. Just apply for regular. So then you might only lose, $500 instead of $1,675 or whatever it is. Like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. So. Okay, Gene, go ahead on that one. I'm gonna. Okay. I would like to, let's see, this is one from
Oh my
1127.
God, I was muted
Yeah, I
myself. I
was
was
gonna say,
talking
what
the
are you doing?
whole.
That's why I started talking.
So
Okay,
sorry, so sorry.
go ahead.
So I was going to say that for the question, what if you receive your EAD after the date that you requested as your start date? Sometimes due to delay on the USCIS part, they will adjust the OPT start date to the date that they actually approve your application. So for example, if you requested June 1st as the start date, but the application didn't get approved until much later, like July 1st or beginning of July, USCIS will likely adjust the start date to the date that they approve the application. So when you receive the EAD, the start date may not be June 1, it could be July 1st.
Okay, and I'll take this one from Anna Vayu. Does the travel issue relate to students who do not need a visa, such as Canadian students? And Anna, I'm guessing by your name, that looks like a Quebecois name to me. So you're probably Canadian. So yes, it does. You don't have as much restriction because you don't need to apply for a new visa. But the same rules apply that you need to always enter the US in F status, and you need to stay here until you get your card in your hand. Okay? This is after May 19th. You want to stay until you get your card. And hopefully your job offer too. And then you can go back and forth to Canada. But you always want to enter with your updated I-20 and your OPT card and your job offer, and you always want to enter as F1. So Canadians need to pay attention to that, not to come in and out as a tourist because it'll break your OPT. You want to always be F.
Okay. Jeremy, I don't know if I answered the question that you marked. Someone asked if they travel before graduation, is it fine to apply for OPT to travel outside US without any issues? I think I just want to quickly mention that we did say that it's okay to travel during spring break after you file your OPT and it's pending with USCIS because you will return before graduation to complete your program. However, there are always risks, right? So you want to make sure that if you do travel before graduation, you want to make sure you carry all the required immigration documents. If you apply for OPT already at that time, make sure you carry a copy of the receipt notice, travel with your OPT I-20, and also assuming that you have a valid F1 visa to re-enter the country. All right, Jeremy, next.
Yeah. So I'm going to take both these questions together because these pertain to on-campus employment. Okay. So we'll talk about both these at the same time. So do you need active OPT to work as a RATN on campus after graduation? The answer is yes. And can I continue my student job after graduating? The answer is no, you cannot. There needs to be, there's a hard break at May 19th, okay? So you have to stop any on-campus employment at that point. Then later, when you get your OPT card, maybe on June 15th or July 1st, Penn can rehire you on OPT, but they cannot hire you into a student job because you're no longer attending student, you're on OPT. They can hire you as a temp extra job in the Penn payroll based on your OPT. But you may be on vacation from your work at Penn for a month or two before you can be rehired. And a lot of departments don't understand this process. It's getting better across the university, but you need, as the students, you need to have it in your head that my on-campus job, my on-campus research, whatever it is, it's going to end on May 19th. Then when you get your OPT card in July or June, then you can come back to your department and they can rehire you in Workday into a different job. So you may be off, you may be on vacation for a few weeks or months before you can return to Penn.
All right, thanks, Jeremy. Next question, how can we confirm if a job qualifies for STEM? So if you're applying for a STEM OPT extension, first of all, you need to have a STEM degree or STEM major from Penn. So if you're not sure if your current major is STEM, you can always check with your ICES advisor, and we can confirm whether your current major is a STEM major or not. If you do have a STEM major and your employer is an E-Verify employer, then you will be able to apply to that job using STEM OPT extension. I hope I answered that. If you need further clarification, I think reach out to your ICES advisor for a separate advising session.
Okay, and I'll answer this one for Ethan. So you're a submetric, which we have a lot of those, right? Usually at C's. Should the post-completion non-OPT be bachelor's or master's with a master's degree later reset? So this one also depends on how you want to do it. In general, Ethan, I think you want to choose bachelor's now, and then you will start your bachelor's level OPT in, say, June or July. You may be off working for a few years. Maybe you do the STEM extension. and then maybe you come back to school in the future to get an MBA. Then you still have the master's level OPT in your back pocket, but it's going to depend on which one you want to use now. And you can talk to your ISSS advisor. I just did one for somebody last week, and they said, I know I want bachelor's. Now I'm doing bachelor's. So I made sure on their I-20, they were using bachelor's, and I did the OPT. So in general, I think you want bachelor's, so you preserve the master's for the future. I hope that explains it.
If I apply for OPT I-20 in March and don't submit my OPT application to USCIS until April, will my OPT start date be April or March? So your OPT start date is what you request when you complete the OPT I-20 request e-form in IPEN. So that start date will not change no matter when you apply. But obviously you want to apply within 30 days of the OPT I-20 issue day, so that to avoid any rejection of your OPT application.
Yeah, and CU, your start date is not going to be April or March. It's going to be like June or July is when your start date is going to be, but you apply in April or March. So it's different timeline, different system there. Okay. I'll do answer live. What is the latest time I can fill in on my OPT start date? I think, Gene, if you want to flip back to that timeline on the slides, it's July 18th. So Gene's going to flip back. It's towards the beginning, actually, the slide. So we can make sure everybody sees this again.
Right. So OPT has to be received by July 18th by USCIS. However, you want to give us a couple of weeks because it's going to have to be approved by your academic department and then ISSS. So don't wait till the last day to apply for OPT because the process does involve several offices. So you want to make sure that you at least, I would say, do at least a week or two.
Yeah, here you go.
Before.
Here's the
July
timeline.
18th.
Here's the timeline. So yeah, July 18th is the latest, but you definitely don't want to wait until May or June or July to apply for OPT. Like you want to apply in March or April for OPT. Because even if you apply in July, they're not going to process your card until you won't get your card back till like September. And then you're just going to lose those months. Like they don't bump the start date. Like you will just lose time. So you don't want to wait after graduation to apply. That's too late. I mean, it's not too late process wise, but as far as realistic start date, it's too late.
Okay. All right, next question. If I receive OPT I-20 but have not submitted application, travel during spring break, do I need to show the old I-20 or OPT I-20? Jeremy, you can you can let me know what you think. I think they can use the old I-20 if they never used if they haven't used the OPT I-20 to apply to USCIS.
Yeah. I'd say either one. As long as they got a travel signature, they don't really care because, again, you haven't graduated yet. It's March. So you should still be active. You should have a signed I-20, either the brand new one or one from last fall. I don't know. But as long as it's valid, it's valid.
Right. Can I do premium processing for OPT so I can travel post-graduation before OPT start day? Yes, you can definitely apply using premium processing. When you fill out the OPT online application with USCIS, there is an option where you can choose that you want to submit your application using premium processing.
Okay, if I receive permanent residence card during OPT, what action do I need to take? You need to do the OPT reporting e-form in IPEN and let us know that I got my PR card, and we will turn off your OPT. If it didn't happen automatically already, but we need to know that. So do the OPT reporting, report to ISSS. I changed my status. I have a green card now. Thank you. That's what, and any for anybody else, you change to H-1B, you change to J-1, you change to whatever, H-4, do the reporting. Let us know. We close your F1 record.
Next question. I heard the premium processing ends if I receive RFE. And it's because if I still want premium processing, should I cancel the application and reapply? I'm not sure if I understand this. Are you saying that, so when you apply to USCIS, you can choose to use premium processing. If you receive RFE, that application is still under premium processing. So, so even if you receive RFE, I don't think the premium processing would stop. Jeremy, is that how you understood this question?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure I understand it either, but premium processing, it's still under premium processing, and they will give you a deadline to apply to respond to the RFE. And then once you respond, they process it quickly. The processing stops because they're waiting for information. And when you give them the information, it restarts again, but it's still premium, so it'll still be fast. If that's the way I can explain it, I guess. Just, you got to respond to the RFE. And if you ever get RFEs, anybody, you ever get an RFE for OPT, you work with ISSS, we will help you.
If I'm using OPT for the summer, should I put my end date as 1 year from start date, or should I put it at the start of the fall? We recommend that you just apply for 1 year OPT, because once OPT is approved, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I mean, if you are going to pursue a same degree level, if you only apply for a few months of OPT for this degree level, it's very rare that you could apply for the rest of the months for the same degree level. So in my opinion, I think you should just go ahead and apply for 1 year OPT and start your new program in the fall.
One thought for that question, though, if this student is applying for pre-completion OPT, then they might only apply for 2 months. I don't know. We don't know which they're applying for. So
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm assuming post-completion.
Yeah, Gene is assuming post-completion, so do the year. If it's pre, maybe only 2 months. I don't know.
The actual date. Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm going to do this one. Is the entire process the same, even if Penn is the employer? Yes, it is exactly the same. You got to apply for OPT as normal, and then you get hired by Penn on OPT.
All right, next question. I got an email from ISIS saying your I-20 will expire soon. What should I do now for OPT? It's just a reminder that your current I-20 ends May 19, 2025. It's so that you won't go ahead and start to apply for OPT if your plan is to work in the US after graduation.
There are some certificate programs at Penn. Do they qualify for OPT? It depends on the program. So that's one you'd have to check with your ISSS advisor.
If my start date is June 9th, and EAD has not arrived, well, the time waiting for the car after June, I began. So the unemployment starts on the start date of the approved OPT date that will be printed on the EAD. So if you requested June 9th, and later if you receive the card that has a different date, then the unemployment will start from the date that USCIS actually approved your OPT.
And I think this, yeah. I think this one is very similar. If you receive your EAD card after the date you requested as your start date, or what if, it's going to be, the start date's going to be what's printed on the card. And yeah, it's whatever on the card, that's the start date.
Can EAD be mailed to a friend that's outside of the Pennsylvania? Yes. So your mailing address can be a different address. It can be a friend's, can be a relative, as long as it's within the US. They can put down in care of, so that the card can be delivered to that address. We actually recommend you do that if you know that you will be moving out of your current address in the next month or so, because you want to give a good mailing address so that the EAD can be safely delivered to you.
Can I get a copy of these slides? We will put this recording on our website. So you can't have a copy of the slides, but you can review the whole webinar on our website.
Next question. Wait, sorry, I did the wrong one. Can I leave the country permanently in a 90-day period? So if you don't plan on applying for OPT and you're graduating this May, you have 60 days to leave the country. The grace period is 60 days, not 90 days. The 90 day is unemployment days. So make sure you don't get that confused. You have 60 days after graduation to leave the US if you don't plan on applying for OPT.
And here's another start date one. You mentioned the start date on your EAD card. What is the latest time you can fill in for this start date? Okay, that's why we have this slide up, July 18th, 2025.
New photo. Yes, you should have a new photo for the 765.
If I don't use my OPT for undergrad, non-STEM, does that, do I get another 12 months? But it does not change amount of grace period. No, you have to use the OPT immediately after graduation from whatever degree level that is. So if you graduate from undergrad this May and you want to use your undergrad OPT, do it now. You can't save it for the future. You have to do it immediately after you graduate from that degree level, whether it's bachelor's, master's, PhD. You can't bank it for the future.
All right. We are 3 minutes past 12. I think we're just gonna answer a few more. And if you have further questions or questions that we didn't get to, our apologies. We ran out of time. So reach out to your ISS advisor if you have any specific questions. So Jeremy will just answer a couple more.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just try to go fast. And I don't know, Mike, if I'm okay to keep going for another 10 minutes if we can. Is that okay, Mike? Or do we need to cut it? I'm okay either way.
It's up to you, whatever you guys are comfortable with.
All right. I'm okay, Gene. Are you okay? I don't
I mean,
have
yeah, I can do another 10
Okay.
minutes if that
Let's
helps. Okay.
let's keep going.
Okay. What mailing address would you recommend providing in the application if I don't know where I will be? If you don't know where you'll be, I think it's if you can find a friend, like I mentioned earlier, a friend in the
A
US,
reliable friend.
a reliable friend with a reliable address that you can absolutely have your applications, your EAD card sent to that address.
Okay, here's if OPT is approved on July 18th or the EAD and the EAD is approved, say, yeah, basically the clock begins the day that it's approved. Okay. So hopefully it will be approved before then because you could lose some time. But that's pretty rare generally. Most people, if you apply now, like now or in March, you're going to get your card. But it is possible that you lose a week or two of unemployment time, but it's rare. It's rare. If there's some really long delay and they will adjust they won't adjust your dates, but you don't need to count, if it gets lost in the mail or something like that for a long time, they don't count that against you. We can help you with that if you get stuck in that dire situation, but let's hope you get your card before July 18th.
My I-20 expires May 19. Do I need to apply for OPT, request OPT before May 19th? No, you can actually do it within 60 days of graduation during the grace period. But again, the longer you wait, the later that you're going to receive your EAD. So if you know that you will be working or want to work in the US after graduation, we recommend that you apply now. And you can always pick an OPT start day. If you don't have an offer or not actively looking for a job, you can always put July 18th as your OPT start day. That's the very last day that you have to start OPT. So you can do that and then still submit your OPT I-20 request now, because it does take a good 3 to 4 months, if not longer, for USCIS to process your OPT application.
Okay, which school should I contact if I want to use my previous OPT from undergrad? Well, you got to contact your undergrad school, whatever that was. If it was Penn, then contact ISSS. If it was, I don't know, if it were Swarthmore College, then you got to talk to SWAT to get it.
Authorized RCL section of my OPT is empty. Is there a section for RCL on the I-20?
Don't think so.
I don't think so. But we have similar questions for students who had CPT in the past, that their OPT I-20 no longer has a CPT printed on it, which is normal because the I-20, every time we print out I-20, the CPT is not just automatically included. The previous CPTs are not automatically included. Sometimes it will just not be included when we print a new I-20, which is fine because the information is in your CVIS record, even though it's not printed on the paper I-20.
Okay, if I receive the EAD card but don't have a job offer yet, can I still travel abroad? Well, you can, but you want to have the 4 things to return. So you got to have your OPT I-20, OPT card, valid F1 visa, and your job offer to return to the US. So it's up to you. If you want to risk it with no job offer, that's your choice, but I would strongly recommend that you have a job offer when you re-enter the US. Remember, 4 things: EAD card, valid F1 visa, OPT I-20, and job offer to travel after May 19th.
How do I decide my start date and date without job offer? You'll have to give your best guess when you request your OPT I-20. If you're actively looking, if you have been interviewing with employers, you can, it's just up to you. But if you think that you, will likely get an offer, sometime after graduation, you could always put a June start date or beginning of July, or if you don't anticipate working soon after graduation, July 18th is always an option.
Is there a way to track your application once you submitted it to USCIS? Yes, because you're going to have to make an account with USCIS to apply. And I believe you can track it through that personal account that you're going to make. So yes, you track it with your personal USCIS account.
Student applied for OPT for their undergraduate degree. Now they're doing master. Is the OPT application the same as bachelor? Yes, it is.
Okay, so if I want to work on campus over the summer, I need to choose an OPT start date around May 19th. You could, yeah, if you want, you could make your OPT start date May 20th. And that's really early, but the same thing that I explained applies. You have to go back to your department. You have to go back to onboarding, and they have to change you from your student job to being a temp extra or some other staff position with your OPT. So most people will take a couple of weeks off and restart their on-campus job June 1st, June 10th. Give yourself a little vacation, then return to your job. But the key thing is your department has to change you from a student worker to OPT. So, but you can do that if you want.
If I volunteer for my professor or on-campus employment, do I still need to get on the payroll? I mean, if you're a volunteer, if it's an unpaid position, you are not going to be on the payroll, right? Obviously, it's not paid. If this will take place after graduation, you must apply for OPT. You cannot work even in an unpaid position on campus after graduation. You will need OPT in order to be legally authorized to work.
Can I leave the country after having the EAD, even though you do not have a job and using the 90-day period internationally? Yes, you can, but you better make sure that you return with the job. I would not wait till the 90th day to return. You could be out, but you better start, you probably want to start working after like 30 days or 60 days. Because don't wait till the 90th day. Not a good idea. But technically you could, but again, not a good idea. You really want to have your job start in July or August on OPT.
Does post-graduation on-campus job also need to be relevant to my major for an OPT? Yes. Any work that you do while on OPT after graduation must be directly related to your major.
Let's see, on the OPT, while entering in current major, should we mention the name of our master's degree or the major listed on the I-20? Either one, but because they do vary some. The name of it at Penn may be different than what's listed on your I-20. ISSS understands most majors, so you can put either one, but probably the name of your Penn major is fine. That's fine. We'll understand. If we're unclear, we'll ask you, or we'll ask your department.
How long takes to get EAD? So as mentioned, the current processing time is about 3 to 4 months for USCIS to process, even though that's not guaranteed, but 80% of their cases are processed within 3 to 4 months. Also, you want to give a couple of weeks for USCIS to actually mail the EAD to you, as they do it using regular mail, so that will take some time. So make sure you plan for that.
Okay. Does the regular OPT and STEM OPT have to be the same job or same employer? No, they could be different. That's okay. It's got to be STEM, but it could be different. A lot of people switch at that point. They have one job for a year, and then their STEM job may be different, and that's okay. You're going to report it in IPEN. You're going to put the employers, but doesn't have to be the same.
So EAD, receive EAD OPT approved with the start of July 18th. Work start on October 1st. Can I travel? Yes, you can travel internationally, but keep in mind that between July 18th and October 1st, those days will be counted as unemployment because again, the 90-day unemployment starts when your OPT starts, not your actual employment. So if your approved OPT starts July 18th, that's when the unemployment will start counting. So keep in mind that between July 18th and October 1, that's unemployment days that you will be accruing.
Okay, this one, I will be graduating May 19th, and suppose my start date is July 21. Could I choose the 18th? Does that mean I'll have some? Yes, yeah, you will. So you'll lose 3 days. That's not a big deal. Yeah, you'll burn 3 days of unemployment, but that's fine. That's minimal. So ask for July 18th and report it, and you will accrue 3 days of unemployment.
A suggestion for choosing a start date. I think we answered this question previously. Based on your current job searching process, if you're actively looking, versus if you don't anticipate working until much later after graduation. It's up to you. But if you don't think you'll be working anytime soon, you can always put July 18th as the OPT start date. But just know that if you do choose July 18th, then it gets approved, and you happen to find a job that wants you to start in June, you have to let the employer know that you cannot until July 18th.
Let's see, this one, just a side question about a visa. Does it mean I have F1 status until July 18th? No, remember, you're going to be on OPT maybe for 3 years. So you're going to have F1 status the whole time that you're on OPT, the whole time from now until 2028, maybe, if you continue your OPT. So July is not really relevant here. It's always F1.
Current I-20 end date in August. Plan to graduate this May. Apply for OPT I-20 before May graduation. Can I still use my OPT I-20 to travel? When you travel, if you have not requested an OPT I-20, you can use a current I-20 to travel. But if you have, requested OPT I-20 and you applied for OPT, I would recommend that you travel with the OPT I-20. And also, when you apply for OPT, that program end date will be shortened to May 19, 2025.
Okay, my degree, master's in landscape architecture and environmental studies. You can do landscape. Well, at least for myself, I'm familiar with that. That's how the Weitzman School sort of made that into a STEM degree. So our advisors should understand the difference. Well, they're not different, that it's the same. So either one.
This question is more about the current landscape of the OPT policies around OPT and job market. All we can say right now is that there has no policy issued that will change the OPT process or the OPT benefits to F1 students. So you would still apply as usual, follow the process. We don't have any data on how employers are responding to the current, administration, how that's impacting the job hiring process. We just certainly don't have that information to share at the moment. But we can share is that nothing has changed with the OPT application process or the policies, so that you, at least for the time being, you should plan on applying for OPT as usual if you're graduating this May.
Okay, what should my employer hire me go from a student? So I'm assuming this is an on-campus job question. So, well, you see, this is my concern about departments hiring people. They cannot hire you until you've got a valid EAD card. So if it wants to start immediately after graduation, then you better ask for May 20th as a start date. Because departments often do this wrong and they hire students when they should not. So if you want to start immediately after graduation, do your OPT for May 20th or May 25th, and then you start using OPT to be hired at Penn. But make sure that you're hired on OPT.
All right. How early can you enter US? What on OPT? You can enter US anytime during after graduation with an approved OPT. There's no restrictions or limit on when you can enter while you're on OPT. You can enter anytime as long as you have all the required travel documents that we mentioned previously.
If I apply today, what's the latest date? This person is obviously not listening, because how many times have we said it? July 18th, 2025. This is why I asked you, please pay attention to the webinar and don't ask random questions. We've said it many times, July 18th.
And we also mentioned this, the how do you track after you apply for OPT, you'll receive a receipt notice with a receipt number, and you can use the receipt number to track the status of your application on USCIS.gov or also within your USCIS account. You should be able to see a timeline of the application status.
Okay, if I've applied for OPT and still decide to leave the US permanently, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you decide, a lot of students end up leaving when they're on OPT for a month or two and then they get a different job and they leave. That's fine. Just do the OPT reporting e-form and tell us, I'm leaving. I've left. I've gone home and we will close your OPT. Not a big deal, but please tell us.
If I lose my EAD card during OPT, should I reach out to IPEN? Yes, you reach out to ISSS. We will let you know that you have to apply for a replacement EAD.
Does 1 year OPT mean, yes, that is correct. It's like 1 day short. So June 16th, 2025. Well, wait, no, June and July, this is different. 1 year means it would be June 16th, 2025 to June 15th, 2026. So it's exactly 365 days.
Okay, if my current visa expires in September, is it recommended for me to renew it between May and July or after? I mean, depends on your travel needs. If your visa expires in September and if you need to travel and re-enter after September, you want to renew your visa when you have an approved OPT, because that way you can present an EAD card that has a 1 year duration on it versus your I-20, which will end in a couple of months. And also with the job offer letter if you're going to renew it while you're on OPT.
And then this one, do I have to talk to my undergraduate school because I applied for OPT after bachelor's degree, now your master's? Yes. Yes, you'd want to get your old I-20s from them. Technically, you should have them yourself. You are supposed to retain copies of all your past I-20s. So yes, talk to the other school.
If you request, oh wait, hold on. If you choose June 19th as the start date but didn't receive the card on June 19th, so if you receive the EAD and if the EAD still has June 19th on it, and you received it after June 19th, so you will already be accruing unemployment days. If there are delays, as mentioned earlier, if there are delays on USCIS side, they may update or adjust your OPT start date to the day that they actually approve your application, but that's only if there's a delay caused by USCIS. Yes.
Okay. When I report the employment, I start working on OPT, what are the documents I need? What if it's an unpaid position? You actually, it's really done just on the honor system. You just report it in the e-form and IPEN, but you don't have to give us any specific documents. Hopefully you would have some documentation of your own, but when you're on that 1 year of regular OPT, it's quite flexible. You can just say volunteering in, blah, blah, blah lab at Penn. And that's it. You don't have to provide documentation. I would definitely have some to keep for the future, but as of now, the reporting is quite relaxed in your first year of OPT. STEM is different, but.
All right, next question. How to fill out 765. You're going to do it online when you apply to USCIS. So you're going to fill out an online application. We do not recommend paper filing. Just make sure that you follow the directions for online filing.
Okay, this one, can I put August 19th on my EAD start day and unemployment to 60 days? it depends when you graduate. If you're graduating in May, no, you can't. Because again, look at our timeline here on the slide. Graduate May 19th. The latest day you can do is July 18th. But if you're an August grad, I'm addressing this question, you could put August 19th because your graduation day is going to be August 5th. But I think if you're a May grad, then the answer is no, you can't do that. It's got to be within 60 days.
All right. 2 more questions and we will need to end this webinar.
We'll stop it. Yep.
Okay. If my on-campus job is not related to my major, will that be valid? No. Any employment after graduation, as I mentioned, must be directly related to your major.
Okay,
Our
last
question.
one. Do we have to share all our old I-20s and EAD cards for this OPT application? And Jean, help me out here. I think that the E-form requests this, but I want to say that USCIS does not.
So
Is that right?
USCIS only wants I-20s with CPT or OPT authorizations on them. So if you don't have any CPT or OPT on a certain I-20, you do not need to upload it.
It's always, I hope you still have those. It's always good to have them. Keep those old EAD cards. You're going to need that if you ever apply for an H-1B, something like that. So keep all those documents. So,
Right.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. We went on for almost an hour and a half here, but those were good questions at the end. I'm glad most of you listened well and you got a lot of information and you asked good questions. So good luck with your OPT. And I hope you all get your cards soon.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.